Hey guys, Chris here with The Good Old Gamer. So today there's going to be yet another video about the Geforce Partner Program. But today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to kind of break some things down. There's an angle that not too many people have been looking at. But the good news is, and let's start off with this, people seem to be actually looking into this now. Just today, Dord TV, he got his video up. He put his 2 cents on this. Even Jay from Jay's 2 cents, he went ahead and put his video up just a little while ago. Paul from Paul's Hardware, he touched on this. Tech of Tomorrow put his 2 cents on this. Hardware Unboxed, they did their video a few days ago. Joker Productions, he went ahead and put a video out on this actually before I did. And I'm not sure why Gamers Nexus's video isn't on this list over here, but it's not. But they did a video as well around the same time that Hardware Unboxed did. Now, why this is important is if the mainstream outlets aren't reporting on something that is important, or at least very clearly seems to be extremely important, we could all be wrong on this, but it seems highly unlikely. I just watched Jay's video just a little while ago, and all of his sources refused to, they basically just shut down the second he brought up GPP. Now, we know that Jay has a lot of sources with Nvidia. He's done a lot of videos where he's clearly said that he talks to Nvidia representatives pretty regularly. And the fact that they do not want to even bring up GPP whatsoever with him tells me a lot right there. Silence sometimes says the most. So I just wanted to go ahead and show that the industry is starting to look into this. This is starting to come to light. And with so many lights being shined on it, hopefully Nvidia will either retract or amend their phrasing here and make the program what it probably should have been, which most of us would just say, take that one line out of the contract and you're just fine. But then what's the point of the program? I don't really know really what the point of the program would be at that point, but that's not up to me. But hopefully with everybody looking at this, we can get this kind of squashed or clarification put onto it if it's not meant to do what we all think that it will. Now, I keep saying that, but the only real source, and this is the source that we're all using, is HardOCP from Kyle Bennett, and we kind of have to just go on what he has here. Now, I've spoken to Kyle, like if you guys saw my previous video, he will not disclose the actual documents because he doesn't want to burn any of his sources, and that's very understandable. But the key to all of this is this line right here. Referring to the GPP, its partners must have its gaming brand aligned exclusively with Geforce. Now, Nvidia will tell you that it's 100% up to its partner companies to be part of GPP. So it's 100% optional. And this is what a lot of people want to use as defense, that, hey, you don't have to do this. It's up to them. But this is what Kyle got from his sources. What's disturbing is that we've been told that if a company does not participate in GPP, these companies feel that as if Nvidia would hold back allocation of GPUs from their inventories. Now that's the real crux of the problem. If you think about it, and in a way it kind of makes sense. If you're a part of the program, you get preferential treatment. Everybody on that list will get preferential treatment, meaning, hey, we're going to ship our GPUs to these guys, and then whatever's left over, we'll just filter out to everybody else. Okay, that kind of makes sense in some regards. I mean, that's how it would go. And if you're giving up exclusivity of your programs, that's basically what you're signing up for. You are giving away your IP, basically, for that, according to this article. And since we haven't heard anything from Nvidia saying, no, that's not true, and the fact that sources are just shutting up the second you bring this up, it kind of seems more likely that, yeah, I mean, the documentation that Kyle has says that this is clearly the way that it goes. We are basing this all on a single document that Kyle has, and that's a lot of pressure to be put on one sentence in one document. Maybe it's more than one sentence, but on one document that one person has in their possession. Like I said, since there hasn't been any clarification from Nvidia, there's really no reason not to believe Kyle. Kyle has been a credible source. He was the first one to figure out that Intel and AMD were kind of working together. He didn't have it 100% right, but he had a good chunk of it right. He went ahead and broke the Pentium 3 1.13 gigahertz CPU way back when. Him and Tom's Hardware. Actually, Tom from Tom's Hardware. So his credibility really isn't in question. And we all know that these companies do a lot of shady stuff. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to get the basics out of the way. If you have been under a rock and you haven't seen any of my previous videos or anybody else's videos here today. So that's kind of the gist of it. What I want to talk about now is the OEMs. See, everybody's talking about Asus because that was kind of the example that Kyle used in the article. And everybody knows Asus and Republic of Gamers. It's a very recognizable brand. But there's a brand that's far more recognizable and nobody's using that, for example. See, a lot of people are like, well, they can make Republic of Miners for AMD. Ha ha ha, that's totally okay. And yeah, I suppose Nvidia wouldn't care about that if that's, you know, according to Kyle there, that'd probably be fine. But as funny and cute as that is, we can use that for an example. How long would it take before Republic of Miners became a household name? How many years or decades? How many millions of dollars will it take to make that brand as recognizable? It will take a long time, and this will stifle competition, which is the whole point of Kyle's article, and that's his whole point, period. That's my whole point. That's everybody's whole point. If this is true, we don't want to stifle competition. In fact, we want more competition. But let me get to a more egregious example that nobody's really bringing up. Jim did a little bit from Adored TV. He kind of touched on it real quick. What about Dell and Alienware? Alienware is a far more recognizable brand than even ROG. Now, us being PC tech heads, we buy components, we don't buy complete systems. So for us, those are probably the parallels that our brain draws. But to the average consumer, Alienware is a far bigger brand than Republic of Gamers or Aorus or Gaming X. As you can see here, we have the new Alienware Area 51 Threadripper edition. Not sure if Nvidia would be okay with Threadripper. I don't think that they'd want Intel in there either, but who knows? Maybe they're okay with processors. But the big thing is if this is exclusively to Geforce, Nvidia is going to have a say in this system. Can it have Threadripper? Can it have an Intel CPU? I don't know. They'll have to check with Nvidia. But this for damn sure won't be happening. There will be no dual RX Vegas in any of these systems. Now, I can't find any 100% concrete source other than an estimated $300 million is what Dell paid for Alienware back in 2006. Right before the acquisition of Alienware, Alienware posted $177 million the previous year. Typically, businesses will sell for twice what they sold in the previous year. So 300-ish million makes a lot of sense. So that rumor to me is probably somewhere in the ballpark. Now, to those people out there saying, hey, this isn't that big of a deal, but if Alienware, that's the gaming brand, the Dell brand, they can do whatever they want. That's not the gaming brand. Even the XPSs might be in question, but the Alienware brand is clearly the gaming brand for Dell. Just like the Omen is the gaming brand for HP. And HP bought out Voodoo PC to get that. And I didn't look up the numbers on that one. Alienware is the bigger company, so I wanted to use this example. But I guarantee you they spent millions and millions of dollars on that. So I'm putting hard numbers on what these companies paid for these. And Nvidia is basically saying, if you don't do what we want, we're going to put you on the bottom of the list. And if we go by the phrasing from Nvidia's documents, that's exactly what they're telling their partners. So back to what I was saying. If Alienware as a brand has to comply with Nvidia and it has to be associated only with Geforce, does that mean that you can only use Geforce graphics cards? Does this mean that Nvidia has a say in what processors, what motherboards can be in there? I mean, where does it really end? Because they would actually be mostly in control of Alienware because it has to align with Nvidia's guidelines of aligning with Geforce. In the last video, I said that this sounds borderline at best, borderline legal. This right here is technically known as coercion, the practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. Kind of like this guy over here about to punch the little guy. Now, after studying federal laws for my licensing and state laws currently for more licensing, I can tell you one thing, just one thing. Coercion is illegal. And if you look at it that way, sure, I told you straight up, and Kyle did in his article, I just showed you, that it's 100% up to the partners whether or not that they want to do business with Nvidia and join their GPP program. Okay, they don't have to do this. Correct. But they're being coerced into doing it if they want to do business with them because they're afraid of allocations and a bunch of other stuff. It's all listed in the article if you haven't read it. Link in the description below. You can figure that part out for yourself. But is this even really a choice? According to Steam Hardware Survey, it looks like 85.3% of all Steam users are using Nvidia graphics cards. How many businesses or even divisions of a larger business can survive if they lose about 85% of their business? If they say, no, we don't want to be a part of this, maybe they don't lose all of it, but if they get pushed to the bottom of the stack, they just get whatever inventory's left over, the remaining bits, just trickles in a little bit. So maybe they lose 70% of their business. There aren't any businesses that I'm aware of that if in one day they get their business cut by 70%, that they'll just be just fine. They're going to have to do massive layoffs, and in reality, for the most part, most of them are going to go under. Now, is Dell going to go out of business if Nvidia somehow killed off their Alienware brand? No. Do they sell enough AMD stuff to where that'd probably be okay? Sure they would. I mean, Dell's a massive company. But will they feel the hurt? Yes. How many people would lose their jobs? A lot. I mean, will they really invest a lot of money innovating into new Alienware stuff? Probably not, because there's not a lot of money there. There might be one unit that they'd have, and in fact, they'd probably just scrap it and just go back under the Dell name. So that's the reason why I wanted to use the OEMs as an example. Everybody's looking at the parts and the manufacturers. Sure, they can slap on Republic of Miners or whatever. They can slap a new name out there, and if they feel like rebuilding, they can. There are other names and marketing schemes out there. But when you look at the OEMs, they have paid a lot of money for these brands that Nvidia is basically saying, you're going to give that over to me or we're going to cut you off. Now, like I said, there's no legal documentation saying that's exactly how that's going to go, but let's be realistic. The companies that do sacrifice their branding, do you not think that they're going to expect preferential treatment? I keep using that because they will get everything that they want and everybody else is going to be left out in the cold. They'll be fighting for scraps. That's the way things work. You know, nobody's going to sacrifice their Republic of Gamers brand and be like, why are you still feeding Dell? I need these GPUs. Give them to me. I've sacrificed for you. You owe me. And I guarantee you stuff like this happens on the back end all the time, but it just doesn't come to light like this. And it shouldn't be happening. Coercion is illegal. It's an unfair practice. And this is going to hurt us. This is the reason why I'm upset by this. I mean, if these companies go out of business and they lose money, that doesn't affect me. I don't really care. What does affect me is when my choices are being limited and they're going ahead and pushing out their only competition. There's only one other GPU manufacturer, and they're trying to shove them as far into the corner as possible. That means they're going to innovate less. They're going to progress less. They're going to have less interest in even bothering with PC gaming. At this point, I don't even know if AMD cares about PC gaming. I mean, there's just really no point for them to focus on that. PC gamers have basically abandoned them, and if their partners start abandoning them, who's really left? I mean, they have miners. That's why I keep using that Republic of Miners kind of as, it was meant as a jab, but let's face it, those guys are supporting AMD. I really appreciate the fact that they are, because that helps them innovate, and hopefully Navi will be really good, more competitive, and then that will force Nvidia to actually do something besides Ampere or Turing, which basically looks like Maxwell Part 4. So you had Maxwell 1, Maxwell 2, Pascal. Now we're going to get basically the same thing again. Without competition, there's no innovation. We'll be stuck on quad-core GPUs forever. It's what I'm going to call Maxwell. It's a quad-core. You know, we don't want that until 2025, and then they come out with a 6-core. Whatever that is, 50% better. Whoopity flippin' do. That's not the level of progress that A, that they can do, and B, that we expect as consumers. So this hurts everybody. That's why this is important. If you can't figure that out and your skull's too thick to understand that this isn't good for anybody, then if this goes through and goes unchallenged, which looks like that's not going to happen anymore, but if it does, this is on you. And I will call you out in a couple of years if this happens to get pushed through for basically destroying competition in the GPU market, or at least stifling it. And like I said, keeping quad cores around on the GPU side, you know, your Maxwell architecture for another 5 years or something. Well, alrighty guys, I've beaten this horse to death until new news comes out about this. If something new happens to arise, I'll go ahead and talk about that. But until then, I think I'm just going to let this go. I wanted to bring out the good news that it's being covered. And because of that, I don't think Nvidia is going to be able to get away with this. I think this is going to be their Star Wars Battlefront 2 moment, where they got caught with their pants down and they're going to have to retract and back up. Otherwise, in this case, we're Disney, and the AIBs and all them, they're Disney, and they're just going to start pulling out. I don't think that anybody's going to be okay with this at this point. So that's good news. We're not there yet. We haven't heard anything, but hopefully that's what happens. And number two, I wanted to clarify, this is one company saying you might have paid umpteen millions of dollars for this, but you're going to give me control over that. And that's coercion. That's not right. It is illegal. And we can't stand for that. We can't allow companies to just bully each other when they happen to have market dominance for a little while. At this point, as of right now, Nvidia's only had 2 dominant GPU generations, and that has been since Maxwell. Pre-Maxwell, AMD actually had the superior GPU. I mentioned in the last video, us gamers, we have short memories. You know, we're only talking about like 6 years ago, where they were very competitive with each other. And like I said, technically AMD did have the better product. So Nvidia hasn't been like this market dominant force forever. Get that out of your head. This is actually kind of new. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is they can lose that. If Navi comes out and smacks them all the way around, and they just don't have anybody to sell these GPUs to, other than, you know, just a couple of vendors, that's going to limit our choice on what options we can get, and there's going to be less competition for them to try to sell them to us. So that means prices will remain higher. So anything can happen in the tech market. Anti-competitive practices hurt everybody except for the company that is actually implementing them. So this only benefits Nvidia. That's why it's pissing me off. Well, alrighty guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you like this kind of video, please hit that like button, please subscribe, please share with friends. And if you guys haven't already checked it out, please check in the links in the description below. I have my Amazon affiliate link down there as well. If you guys want to click on that, do your shopping. That really helps me out, get some tech on hands. We can do some hands-on testing here in the near future. That'd be really nice. And don't forget to share with your friends. This is a different angle. This isn't the way that everybody else is looking at the situation. So go ahead and share this. This is really important for the entire PC enthusiast community to grasp, understand, and then educate. That's right. It's up to you guys. You know, I've done my part. I've done 3 videos on this. It's your job to go out and educate people, the non-enthusiasts, but PC gamers, just the general PC gamer, and educate your friends, family, whoever. Hey, look, this is what's going on. I know you don't give a shit, because they don't. They don't really care. They just buy whatever. But that's the masses. That's where the money is. You need to educate them and let them know, hey, look, you should probably hold off on buying that Geforce, whatever. I mean, they're kind of doing some shady shit here. Let's see how this all shakes out. Or maybe if you can find an AMD card in the near future at a slightly more reasonable price than they are right now, maybe you should go that route. Maybe that's a better option right now, especially if you're looking at like the GTX 1060 and RX 580 level GPU. They're very, very close in performance. Right now, there's no reason to buy the 1060 other than the fact that the price is a little bit better. So honestly, I'd still recommend going that route because of pricing only. Well, alrighty guys, that's all I have for today, and I will catch you guys in the next video.